Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. Between the years 1990 and 2000, I did hundreds of interviews with musicians for the Irish Times in a slot that was originally called the Joe Jackson Interview. When Paddy Woodworth, the newspaper's arts editor, launched its now legendary Sound and Vision double-page spread. The name above the title idea was his. And I once said to Paddy, "Why me, Lord?" I was joking, though editors do like to be addressed that way. Paddy explained that he chose me primarily because we both believe that the arts should be central to political debate rather than relegated to the sidelines, and that as such, popular music, as an outgrowth of popular culture, could and should be explored from a socio-political perspective. What does that mean in real terms? Okay, by way of a lead-in to the tape I want to play, let me give you one or three examples. One of my peers in the newspaper was a renowned rock critic. He loved in particular American, British, and Irish guitar-based bands such as U2, who are usually comprised of four white guys. Cool. We all loved such bands at one stage. I certainly did. But increasingly, cultural analysts, and not just feminists, had come to call such bands proponents of cock rock, with all the political ramifications that implies. So I set out to broaden the net, as it were, to get a gender balance. And I set out to get a genre balance, to give as much space to, for example, Irish traditional acts such as the Chieftains. And even if all I got was a phone interview, something I usually rejected because it didn't lend itself to in-depth discussion, I was happy to say, "You bet." What follows is one of my Irish Times interviews. Enjoy. Okay, all right. Can we go back to your own role in those specific recordings? Some of them. A lot of the serious analysis of rock culture can be traced back to William Mann's comment in the mid-60s. Yeah, about
What,
the pentatonic
the
cluster.
pentatonic
Yeah.
diatribes.
In this boy. Diatribes in this boy. I don't think that's what he said.
Pentatonic clusters.
Yes, in this boy, and the Aeolian cadences in
That's right.
not
Oh,
the
yes,
second
I
time.
remember the Ionic cadences.
But, well, obviously they did not come, that the concept of that did not come from John Lennon and Paul McCartney at the time.
Well, I mean,
or did it? I mean, was it a natural way they composed, or was this you?
I mean, words don't alter the music, do they? I mean, you can call them Aeolian cadences or whatever. I think
Right.
whatever you like, but the music is still the same.
Right.
And in fact, William Mann was quite correct, because some of the music, they were clusters of different diatonic notes rather
Right.
than chromatic ones. But it's just highfalutin talk.
Right.
The music was superb.
But it was also a turning point in the analysis of rock music. I mean, from that point on, rock music, then maybe Sgt. Pepper more so, solidified that rock music was dissected, analysed as classical music had been, as high arts had been before that. I mean, did you think it warranted that?
I think it does, because I think if you look back at all the music that was created from 1962 onwards until the Beatles stopped, it left us a great musical heritage, which is not just British, it's not just European, it's universal, it's world. You can go anywhere in this world and you will hear some of that music. And I can't think of any other writers who have quite such a universal appeal. And it is good music, it's good stuff.
But did you always believe that? Or when you saw it being compared, I know you love Verdi, and that would be a strong basis, your love of classical music and your base in classical music.
Go slower, because...
Sorry, yeah, I'm rushing because we started late. You love classical music, you've written about Verdi. Was there ever a part of you that said something like Love Me Do or the early stuff was very primitive and you couldn't respond
I
to it?
did say Love Me Do, and I still say Love Me Do is primitive. And I said to the boys, I was looking for a better song. During Love Me Do times, they showed me no instance they could be great songwriters.
Right.
P.S. I Love You and Love Me Do and One After 909 were the only kind of things they trotted along.
Right.
But they learned fast, and they were able to start writing, first of all, very catchy, very instant, likeable pop songs from Please Me onwards. Please Believe Me, From Me to You, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand. But then they started developing their sense of construction and melody and lyrics, and they came up with things which have stood enormous test of time. I mean, Yesterday is now almost a cliche.
Sure.
But songs like Strawberry Fields Forever, songs like The Long and Winding Road and Fool on the Hill and Michelle and so on, they're songs which are comparable with the best of Gershwin, the best of Porter, the best of Irving Berlin, and some people, like William Mann, say even the best of Schubert.
Mahler and Mahler's Songs of the Earth. Wasn't that the comparison? The
Well,
point of
indeed,
comparison?
I think it's a fair comparison because
Right.
classical music has not produced anything like that this century.
Right. Okay, you corrected me earlier when I said about the your contribution in terms of I would see what you did with taking two parts of Strawberry Fields, even though they were semitone apart in different tempo, and bringing them together.
I think that was brilliant.
Well, no, but that's part composition. That's part co-creation of a finished artistic product, surely.
Yes, it's a bit like if you write a book, and you've written and you've created something that you think is pretty good, and it isn't really quite as presentable and as good as it should be. And then an editor comes along who is himself a good writer, and he knocks it into shape and he puts it together and he presents it, and that editor is an unsung person, and the book comes out and you're
Right.
hailed and you win a book prize.
Right.
And in the preface, if you're Salman Rushdie, you will say, "I owe a great debt of gratitude to Robert Laurentis, my editor, for his help on the stroke." That's the kind of role a producer does, I think. In other words, I am a musician, I'm a writer, but I have actually helped to shape their work and put it and present it in the best way. So I wouldn't claim composition,
Would you not?
except in certain instances. I mean, the solo in My Life is my composition. That kind
The
of,
solo.
yeah, you know, the little harpsichord thing.
Right.
Well, I wrote
Right.
that.
Sure. Okay.
The guitar and piano solo, Michelle, is mine.
Right.
Dom,
Right.
diddle-dim,
Right.
diddle-dim, bom, I wrote that.
Right.
I mean, that's not fundamental. The songs are fundamental.
Right. Okay. But when it gets to some of the tracks on, you know, the way the legendary story of you cutting up tapes and mixing sounds to capture John's visual imagery. I mean, surely that's not too far from the kind of conceptual art that people like Yoko Ono were involved with,
No,
creating music
I'm
that
not
way.
denying that. I think
Right.
it's part of the producer's function, though, and it's.
But do you feel you get full
it is
credit
creative?
for that?
Yes.
Do you feel you've always gotten full credit for that?
I think I've had a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
very.
You don't feel slighted.
No,
Right.
I feel that the world has treated me very well in that respect because I do get a lot of recognition on it. I'm not,
Right. Right.
you know, we've just come back from Sweden. Giles was playing guitar in the orchestra for me, and he also acts as my PR link, which is very useful.
But I'm not. I'm here behind somebody with a phone.
Okay. No, it's all right. I'm sorry for that earlier.
That's okay.
But we were treated wonderfully.
All right. Okay.
And you know, people sort of, I get a bit embarrassed sometimes that people.
The praise.
But he said to me at the play occasion, you know, all these songs was it. I feel I'm taking credit for all these songs and not my songs, even though they're his orchestration.
Well, that's interesting.
But you see, that's the point. I remember. You see, I'm one of those people from the '60s who didn't like the Beatles. I have to admit that. I was listening to other kind of music. But my father, when he heard Eleanor Rigby, he was a big fan of Verdi, and he would be a fan of Gordon Jenkins's orchestrations with Sinatra. And he said
So
to
am I, by
me,
the way.
okay, well, he said to me, and he would play me Riddle's orchestrations and make me listen to the way the singer's voice had been set in all these colours. And when he heard Eleanor Rigby, he said, the genius in that is George Martin. Now, that was his argument then, and I see points of, I think that's a very strong argument. And I think of producers who did Presley, like Sam Phillips. I mean, these people, Brian Eno with U2 at the moment. I mean, I do think the input is very much by rock critics, because they want to focus on the star, is minimised or played down, you know?
I think I've had more attention
Than most of those.
than most
Right,
people.
right,
I mean, for
right.
example, I think Nelson Riddle
Right.
was a great arranger for Sinatra, and he got quite a bit of attention from songs of swinging lovers onwards.
That's true. Right.
But there's-
Would they have influenced you? Would that kind of stuff in it have influenced you, apart from Songs
think
for
all
Swinging
would have
Cellars? Did you do
influenced
that?
Yeah, Nelson Riddle certainly influenced
No,
me.
Songs for Swinging Cellars, was that your Peter Sellers?
Oh yes, that's right. Well, indeed, Songs of Swinging Cellars was built on that. Obviously, yeah, absolutely.
So that was the kind of stuff the Beatles also gave you that. Did they give you your introduction to rock culture, rhythm and blues based music? Did you have to go out and listen to all that
rhythm
stuff?
and blues, which I didn't know.
Sure.
Because I was a bit square.
Right.
So
right.
I am.
Well, you originally were just looking out for the Tommy Steele you'd let slip.
Which clip was that?
When you first signed them, when they came in, you were looking for Elvis or Cliff, the next Elvis or Cliff,
Well,
weren't
they
you?
said that Tommy Steele that you let slip.
Yeah, you were burned by that. We don't mention that, do we not?
Well, I do actually, but I mean, that's nothing to be proud of. Is it?
Well, if you'd signed it, it wouldn't be anything
Well,
to
I
be
don't
proud
know
of
that.
either.
Looking back on it.
He later got an award for it.
For which?
For letting Tommy Steele slip.
Okay, I'll back that one up. What we said,
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. And if you want to read the article that came out of that chat you just heard, check my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com. Also, if you'd like to be notified of shows that focus on hundreds more interviews like the one you just heard, why not subscribe to the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast? Either way, thank you for listening.